Guilty pleasures. We all have them. This is one of mine. Hey, it's Michael, aka Oscar Man, and the performances I'll discuss in this video aren't those I consider bad or unworthy of an Oscar. Let's start with one you'll all know. Joan Crawford in 1945's Mildred Pierce. Be sure and check out my video on Crawford's Oscar night at the 1946 ceremony. You'll find the link to it in the description below. Okay, back to Joan. She left Metro to sign with Warner Brothers. Nothing happened for a few years until Mildred Pierce came along. Of course, she had to take Bette Davis's sloppy seconds because the then Queen of Warners didn't want to play the mother of a teenage daughter. Director Michael Curtiz wanted Barbara Stanwyck, but she said, "Oh no." Others considered included, "I don't think so." Interesting. Maybe. Please. Crawford was so low on the totem pole that she allegedly had a screen test for the role.
I took the only job I could get so you and your sister could eat and have a place to sleep and some clothes on your backs.
Aren't the pies bad enough? Did you have to degrade us?
Rita, don't talk like that.
I'm really not surprised. You've never spoken of your people, who you came from, so perhaps it's natural. Maybe that's why Father...
Curtiz made her get rid of the shoulder pads and fuck me pumps, and voila, Crawford became Mildred.
Two tops, one medium, one rare, lamb plate.
Two chicken dinners, one without gravy.
Two chickens, whole, one gravy. You can't say without, you gotta say whole.
Though the film had to be really toned down from the novel on which it was based, it still packed enough of a punch to become a critical and box office success.
Get out, Vita. Get your things out of this house right now before I throw them into the street and you with them. Get out before I kill you.
Though there are scene stealers here aplenty, Crawford plays the heroine/victim really well and walks off with the film. Literally. A trashy story. Campy performances. A film with Oscar not written all over it. If you look up movie guilty pleasures in the dictionary, you'll find the 1956 soap opera Written on the Wind. It's an Academy Award-winning film, and for a very good reason. The movie itself is high camp, and one that should be watched with others. On paper, the role of an oil tycoon's nymphomaniac daughter who picks up truck drivers in bars, tries to seduce a childhood friend who rejects her, and does a wild mambo while her father is dying of a heart attack doesn't exactly sound like something the Academy would necessarily consider Oscar-worthy. But Dorothy Malone, newly platinum blonde in an attempt to change her image, attacked the part of Mary Lee Hadley like she was playing Scarlett O'Hara.
There's only so much a woman can do, and no more. I speak from personal experience with you.
You know, you're remarkable. You've got your axe buried in Kyle's head and you're grinding it at the same time.
I can think of much better things than making smart talk.
Hudson was called upon to show disinterest in Malone's seduction. A stretch, I know. But Malone had to convince us that her character really believed that Hudson would be interested in her. Now that's acting.
Do you love me, Mitch?
Like a brother.
I don't want you as a brother.
Can't be any other way, Meredith. Please don't waste your life away waiting for me.
Dorothy Malone is so over the top, which is exactly what the character called for. She also has one of my favorite lines from an Oscar-winning performance.
You're a filthy liar.
I'm filthy. Period.
You try saying that with a straight face. Director Douglas Sirk sure had a gift for bringing out the best in his actors, and he got no less from Malone. If you've seen Written on the Wind, you'll understand my enjoyment of Malone's performance. And if you haven't, it's a good one for a rainy day or night. The 1978 film California Suite boasts a strong cast mired in one of Neil Simon's most unfunny scripts. However, the scenes with Michael Caine and Maggie Smith seem like they're in another movie. This dynamic duo got all the witty lines, and Smith won her second Oscar, this time in a supporting role.
Sydney, I have just thrown up on some of the best people in Hollywood. Now is no time to be sensitive. What was the best picture?
I'm not telling you.
I'm not asking you. I'm threatening you, you crud!
Now, I'm definitely not going to tell you.
I'm sorry, I take it back, Sydney. You're not a crud. Go!
Am I still an arsehole?
Definitely.
Lee Marvin won Best Actor for 1965's Cat Ballou. This is a rare win for two reasons. The film was a comedy, and Marvin played two different characters. He also beat Richard Burton and Rod Steiger that year, both who were in two heavily dramatic films. Cat Ballou doesn't scream Oscar, but Marvin is irresistibly funny.
Mr. Shalene, don't you see what's going on?
Oh. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Frankie. Happy birthday to you.
I'm an easy target when it comes to sentimental films and performances. Spencer Tracy's first Best Actor win for 1937's Captain's Courageous may not have aged well, but his down-to-earth fisherman still gets to me.
I don't write them, I just find them in my mouth.
A song can't be any good like that when you just make it up.
Say, that's best kind songs. When you feel good inside, like Trade Wind, she just come out. Oh, my beautiful lady.
People learn songs. Songs aren't just inside of people like that.
Say, sometimes a song's so big and sweet inside, I just can't get him out. And then I look up at stars and maybe cry. I feel so good.
And James Dunn's charming portrayal of an alcoholic dreamer in 1945's A Tree Grows in Brooklyn is hard to resist. You hate yourself because you know what's coming, but you cry anyway. Or at least I do.
You got a bad case, a very bad case.
Case of what, Papa?
A very bad case of growing up. That's all it is. Oh, it ain't fun sometimes, but don't you be afraid. I don't want you should ever be afraid.
There is no reason why any pleasure should be derived from encountering a cunning, manipulative, psychotic who boasts of being a cannibal. But can there be guilt in the pure enjoyment watching the Oscar-winning performance of Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter? The actor won a second Oscar for a much more sentimental film. But 1991's Silence of the Lambs provided Hopkins with the role of a lifetime. And even though by now we know he had the second shortest role to win lead actor, you feel Hopkins' presence throughout the film, even when he's not on screen. Talk about making every moment count.
Read Marcus Aurelius. Of each particular thing, ask, what is it in itself? What is its nature? What does he do, this man you seek?
He kills women.
No, that is incidental. What is the first and principal thing he does? What needs does he serve by killing?
Anger. Social acceptance and sexual frustrations.
No, he covets.
Of course, Hopkins had a great scene partner, but when Dr. Lecter is speaking, you can't take your eyes off him, even though you want to look away at the same time. The role was first offered to Sean Connery, who turned it down. Now, I love me some James Bond, but this choice would have been a Dr. No. Silence of the Lambs is scary, gruesome, violent, so why do I keep coming back to it? Do I enjoy the cat and mouse repartee between Lecter and Clarice? Do I feel safe knowing that Hannibal the cannibal is behind bars? Does Hopkins go just far enough, but not too far in his performance? I know I speak for many when saying that Anthony Hopkins gave one of the most iconic performances in film and Oscar history.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Coming up is my favorite Best Actress Oscar win of all time. But first, allow me to express my appreciation to you for participating in this channel. Thanks for all of the intelligent, thoughtful comments. You guys know so much about this Oscar stuff. Someone mentioned in this video will wrap things up. So after you're done watching, please hit the like button and become a subscriber if you're not one already by joining our amazing community of Oscar fans.
Oh, Mr. B, you're just a doozy.
That is probably how most know Shirley Booth. As the wise and wisecracking maid Hazel, Shirley Booth's most famous role brought her 2 Emmys in addition to her 3 Tonys and, of course, her Oscar. Booth originated the role of Lola Delaney in the stage version of William Inge's Come Back, Little Sheba. When it came time to bring the play to the screen in 1952, Booth's legendary Broadway performance wasn't enough to guarantee her repeating the role in the film. Producer Hal Wallace offered it instead to Bette Davis, who turned it down. Okay, let's be real. We love Bette Davis, but I think she would have been ridiculous in this part. The wonderful Joanne Woodward recreated it for television, and even she couldn't come close. I like playwright Inge's works, though they were always on the depressing side, as was the playwright. That said, Inge had a way of creating characters who spoke the language of loneliness and despair like no other. Come Back, Little Sheba is a sad story, with a glimmer of hope at the end. But one thing is certain. Shirley Booth is painfully moving as an unhappily married woman who lives in the past, mourning her lost dog, Sheba.
I dreamt about little Sheba again last night, Doc.
You did?
Yeah. It was just as real. I put her on a leash to take her downtown to do some shopping. And everybody on the street turned around to look at her. And I was so proud. And then we started to walk. And the block started going by so fast, poor little Sheba couldn't keep up with me. And suddenly I looked around and she was gone.
Of course I know this movie yanks at your heartstrings and pulls out all the stops, daring you not to feel for this woman's plight. That said, Lola Delaney is a self-made victim of her own circumstances. But an artist with an exceptional talent like Shirley Booth took the mundane and obvious and turned it into a masterpiece.
Do you think we did wrong, Doc?
You can't defy convention, I guess, or the laws of God.
But I don't think anybody ever knew about it except my folks.
If the baby had lived, everyone would have known.
My losing her like that, the way it turned out, you wouldn't have had to marry me.
Honey, what's done is done.
But it must make you feel bad sometimes to think you had to give up your studies and support a wife. You might have been a real MD today.
Her character in this film is what I call Sad Hazel, as some of Booth's trademark mannerisms and line deliveries on her TV series invoked a happier version of Lola. I'll just tell you straight out, each and every time I watch this film, like a true masochist, I lose it. I'm starting to just by talking about it.
All of a sudden, I saw a little Sheba. She was lying out in the middle of the field, dead. I felt terrible, Doc. Nobody else paid any attention. But I cried and cried. It made me feel awful, that sweet little puppy, her white fur all smeared with mud, and no one to stop and take care of her.
This is my very favorite Best Actress Oscar win, and probably always will be. Now, I can't wait to hear what your favorite Oscar-winning guilty pleasure performances are. I know you have very personal reasons for your choices, and you have a safe place here to share if you choose to. So until the next video, here's a message from someone who has a guilty pleasure. Or two.
Why are you putting your 2 cents in?
Only because of Mitch. Because I've never had it. And your wife has.